Hello, good morning, greetings, ni hao, and all those other fun greetings. Here we are. It is Monday morning in October. We are several months into doing these now. I think this is the 29th, so next Monday we'll make big 3-0 for these monthly or these weekly Monday sessions that we've been doing. Of course, for folks who are missing their program at Sachem Public Library in Holbrook, New York, but also for everyone who happens to find us here on the Book of Face. So anyway, I am Laoshi Lawrence McElroy of, wrong direction, Water Tiger School of taijiquan, and here we are. So just a couple of things. One, please mask up. Please stay away from big crowds. Please listen to, scientists when it comes to what we need to do to get ourselves out of this mess. So anyway, so there's that. There's my little soapbox moment for this morning. I'll probably mention it again at the end of this morning's session. So today, we're going to continue our play with variety is the spice of Tai Chi, as well as the spice of life. And this particular approach at Water Tiger School, we call Tai Chi lottery. So what that means is we have, in the studio program, we have these little slips of paper. And, generally what I've done in the past, hold out the hand, let people choose something, and whatever they choose, that's the focus that they need to give their practice. These days with physical distance in the studio, if we do a round of lottery, then what we do is I just assign something. But anyway, there are 10 of those little slips. And so far in this series, including when we were doing a Tuesday morning series, after today, we will have hit 6 of them. Back in March the 31st, we did Drunken, and that was for West Babylon. So that was a Tuesday morning. Molasses was our first for the Sachem program on May 4th. We did what we call Dalton X, which is really playing with as much activation as possible for West Bab on May 19th. Minimal for Sachem on August 24th. And the last time we did this was back at the end of September, on September 28th. Again, for Sachem, West Babylon is now doing a remote session. Quicksilver. So today's, out of these little lists, slips, slip of the tongue trying to say slip. This is today's. Short. What does that mean? We'll find out. So we're going to start with a little warm-up, couple of things, a little upper body, a little lower body, and then we'll get to it, as it were. Not really, a lot of other news. I haven't looked at the Sachem Public Library website for a few days, but the last time nothing has really changed from previous. The library's open, I think, almost on a full schedule, if not a full schedule at this point, but, there are rules and protocols involved if you go to the library, like limited amount of time in the library, a limited amount of time using computers. Certain rooms are not available, and they are not really doing in-person programs at all. And their remote offering is relatively limited. Still looks like, book clubs and self-help groups and maybe a cooking class or something like that, but no exercise programs at this point. And as I've been saying, since the studio reopened, back at the 1st of September to in-person classes, the protocols that we have to follow as a recreational activity facility are pretty onerous and would be too onerous for a library at this point. So until we can tamp down and keep down the infection rates, not only in New York State, which we're doing a bang-up job, thanks to the governor for that. And but across the nation. So once we can see the other side of that and some of these protocols can be, we can afford to lift them, then we might see wellness activities come back to the libraries at some point in the future. So there's that. Yes, there are libraries that are doing, that a little bit more aggressive in their remote programming. It varies, just like what's offered and how often it's offered varies from library to library. So does the remote programs. So yes, West Babylon is doing a remote Tai Chi class, and Water Tiger School's been booked at a couple of other libraries since all of this started back in March. So anyway, so there you go. There's that, and I think that's about it. So I'm going to get a little drink of tea because I was a little bit late getting started this morning. I like my shirt. It's the only shirt that I have these days that could be acquainted even partially with Halloween. If you are unaware, the Buffy is Buffy the Vampire Slayer television series a few years ago. So anyway, so I thought I'd wear this. Still, so far, haven't really doubled up that much in the t-shirt since March. I don't know if that's impressive or like, my God, he's an idiot for owning that many t-shirts. So let's do a little march to start, maybe a shake first, just because I like to shake. And we all know this is all about me. Breathing, relaxing, and releasing. Maybe we won't do short, maybe we'll do shake. The shake version of Tai Chi water. Hey, I just added an 11th thing. By the way, Water Tiger School post this morning also is sort of on theme for today's live session. Comes to us from a yoga flow session with Ted McDonald and Tony Horton in the new exercise program that Mr. Horton is developing called Power Nation. Power Nation Beta Group 1 is sort of the name given to the group that is helping with the development. But anyway, there's conversation between Ted and Tony. And Ted says, I can't are words that don't exist in my vocabulary. And Tony replies, I don't mind those two words as long as you add a third, yet. So when we describe what short is, you might go, yeah, I can't do that yet. All right, so in a little march, I'm going to get a little timer here. Well, actually, no, I'm just going to count it down. So remember, hands are targets. You're not reaching the hands down to the knees. The knees are coming up to the target. So if you have a shorter range of motion, again, no judgment, you just hold the hands closer to the tops of the thighs. So you have those targets. And you can do open hand, you can do closed fists, whatever works. I'm going to get started here, and I'm going to count down from 3, and then I'm going to count down from 10. 3, 2, 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now open them up. 3, 2, 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Little kick and flip. 10, 3, 2, 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Huggers. 3, 2, 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So our two upper body things. One is sort of a version of arm circles that we do from time to time called swimmers. And like anytime we do arm circles, ideally, and these are full range, so full big circles in the two directions. If that type of reach tweaks your shoulder, then make them more medium-sized as we do this. And if that's too much, tuck the elbow in and make them elbow-centric. So you're still getting stuff through the whole body, and the shoulder is still moving and pumping, but you're just not creating that tweak that you might have in your rotator cuff. So for swimmers, you put one foot forward. I'm going to go left foot forward first, so I'm going to do the right arm first. You can do either side because we're going to hit both. Back foot back at an angle, and again, opposite foot. So forward foot is the opposite hand is the one that we're going to go. And we're going to swim back first. 3, 2, 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 10. So going forward now, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I'm just going to step back, so I'm switching the feet and back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So there's the upper body. The lower body, I didn't pull the date to see when we did the polka stretch. This is a little bit toned down version of the polka stretch. So the polka stretch, if you know it, if you're familiar with it, you put all the weight in one leg, it's a dorsiflex, you're flexing your foot on the other, the leg is straight, and in the polka stretch, you're reaching across and reaching toward the floor. Now, a lot of people just let that arm hang. I like to twist the torso a little bit more. And you're switching back and forth between the 2 feet. We keep the switch, we keep the dorsiflex, but what we do instead of that kind of cross-body reach is we do this little scoop and scoop. And notice I'm not rounding the back, keeping the back straight and sitting down into that leg. So that's the scoop. That's the scoop on the scoop. Hey, I hadn't noticed that before. Wow, I'm on a roll. I'm here every Monday at 10 a.m. Please tip your wait staff. So we're going to do, I'm going to say 10 pair. A lot of times with polka stretch, I'll stop at 5 pair because it's pretty intense and we go pretty quickly. I'm going to go pretty quickly here, but again, it's not quite as intense as the polka stretch. So I'm going to start with my weight on the right foot. You can start left. We're going to balance the sides. And we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. And there's 1 and 1. There's 2 and 2. There's 3 straight leg here and 3, no joint in the leg, 4 and 4, 5, 5, 6 and 6, 7 and 7, 8 and 8, 9 and 9, and 10 and 10. And I probably should have said this, if you wanted to stop at, 5 pair or 4 pair or 3 pair, or do something else while we did that, that's okay. So there you go. There's the warm-up. Good to see you. Bye. No. So what does it mean when you draw the short tab slip in the Taiji lottery? It's not like drawing the short straw and deciding who's going to go fight the evil monster. Short means closer to the ground. So we have what our normal depth of stance is as we play. I'm sort of, if I'm doing the Tai Chi stance or form, I'm sort of moderate in my depth, not too high, not extremely low. It's sort of somewhere in the middle. Same thing when I'm walking the rails. I don't have a big bend in my knee, but this is probably actually a little bit lower than I normally do. So what short means is lower your stance. Challenge yourself. Be careful. Deeper stances require a better awareness of knee and toes, the orientation of the knee to the toes. Requires a little bit more lower body strength, a little bit better balance, and that sort of thing. So, you know, do what's right for you. Don't go too deep, too fast. Somebody said hi. I'm just going to look. Hey, Linda. Good morning. Thanks for joining me. Just be careful, right? But that's the idea. This basically comes out from the same place, if you will, the same inspiration as if you were here, and I didn't pull the date on this either. We did an introduction to Water Tiger School's stop and start exercise, which is where you're coming to the end of a posture that's parting the wild horse's mane from a Water Tiger School perspective, and you're hanging out here for a few breaths, and then moving on to the next posture, and then hanging out at the end of that posture for a few breaths and going through the form that way. That and this actually combine to where stop and start came from. And that was my instructor when he left Young Style a couple of years after I finished my initial program study with Black Dragon School, and went to, I believe it's pronounced Shun style Tai Chi, not Sun, but Shun, which is part of eight-step praying mantis Kung Fu. The top of their lineage insisted that people could not participate in their demonstration team with their demonstration team until they could play the 24 posture form. In a thighs parallel height, holding each end of posture for 8 breaths. We're not going to go that long. We're not going to hold. This is not a stop and start. But that's sort of where the idea for short came from in the lottery, and definitely the idea where the stop and start comes from, where we only hold for about 3 breaths. So all you need to do is pick your poison, pick your what you're going to do. Could be your form. You know, if it happens to be the 24, it's the 24. We'll do a little section of the 24. Can be a walking exercise. We've done several, right? Just the walking the rails. So I have my shoulder width. I'm assuming I'm going to just do a little casual close here. I'm going to look and see what the message from Facebook is. Okay. So I'm going to assume you can still see me. Facebook has taken my image away. But usually when that happens, the video feed is still going on. So I'm going to trust that that is happening and continue on. I sort of know where I need to be so I can stay on screen. So I guess if you can't see me, give me a shout and we'll reboot this puppy. But I think we're okay. We have been in the past anyway. It's been a while since this has happened. So anyway, walking the rails is quite literally as if you are walking the rails. So I guess it's more figuratively than literally. So you want to have your shoulder width. Our shoulder width is defined by drop of shoulder, drop of shoulder. Should split the heels in half. That's why I have the blue lines here on this mat. And when you're walking the rails, if you took vertical alignment out of it, this is what you're doing. If you put vertical alignment in it, it's a little bit more formal. And I'm going to just turn sideways for a moment so you can see I have a little bend in my knee, but I'm not too deep into the stance. Regardless, I still want the hips under the torso and the torso under the shoulders. So keep that in mind throughout this, because that becomes the closer you get to the ground, the harder it is to keep the hips parallel to the floor. You really need flexibility in the hip, glute, and quad area to be able to go really, really low. But, you know, if you can do that, great, more power to you. We're not going to go that low, except for that first little demonstration. So that's the idea. The rest of vertical alignment, crown point of the head, base of the pelvic bowl, ball of the foot. When we're walking the rails, we're going from one rail to the other rail, maintaining the same heights as we go. So I'm not raising up as I settle into a leg. I'm not sinking down as I take the next step. Maintaining that height. Chest sunk, back rounded. And the only other thing, well, there's not really, that's not the only other thing, but the other thing, we want our hands when we're walking rails in one of 5 places. They can be on your belly, cupped, not with fingers interlocked. You can put them behind your back. I'm going to move closer to the camera. Create a hook with one hand, set the other one in it. Either position, left over right or right over left, is okay. If you want to leave the arms hanging, you can leave the arms hanging. If you want lightly closed fists, you can lightly close the fists. I usually put my hands on my hips. So if we do this in a short version, sort of figure out how low you can go, and my hips are still underneath my torso is still underneath my shoulders. As soon as I start to do this, instead of this, I'm done. Now you also have to, when you're walking the rails, have to be careful that as you're setting down, your knee isn't going, I'm not in forced stance, so I might be okay. I'm going to really listen to my knees here with my knee over my toes. In forced stance, that's a bad thing. But I'm still putting a lot of weight in my heels so I can remain upright as I walk the rails, and keeping that hip down becomes a little bit harder as I am playing shorter. Breathing, relaxing, and releasing. Going to be my last step because I'm pretty close to where I would normally cut off my head. So maybe I'll take 2 more steps. I might lose my head. It's not necessarily a bad thing in Tai Chi. Remember that lesson. We want to get out of our head and into our bodies. Last step, so I'm going to do my little casual closing. Up, out, away from the body. In and down. So there's rails, right? You can do that with the rotation. So the ball stays the same size it would as if I were in my usual stance, but it's still right foot and right hand, left foot and left hand. So you can do short and just have, a fundamental exercise. Sorry, when the video goes away, my screensaver suddenly kicks in, so I'll have to refresh the screen. Refresh the screen again. Take 2. Oh, that reminds me, there was a posting. We uploaded a new YouTube video last Thursday. Water Tiger let me choose some of my favorite upper body stretches. So more versions of arm circles. A lot of things that we have done before, some in this series, many in the classroom situation, and a couple that may have been new to everyone. One especially, the one that I threw in at the end. So anyway, ended up I think being 13 stretches, which is kind of scary since it's the end of October. So that's rails. We have our Tai Chi walk. You can do that lower too. I'm going to start higher to sort of do the basics. And so you saw that earlier. The back foot is around a 45. I'm still heel to heel shoulder width when I'm in the forward stance. Back heel, turning on the back heel, turns those toes out to the 45. Stepping the other foot forward. Now in forward stance, I don't want to push the knee beyond the top of the foot. I'm okay over the top of the foot, but once I get to or beyond the toe. So I don't want to create my deeper stance by doing this. This is bad. I want to create my deeper stance by having more separation between the front foot and the back foot. Still able, ideally, right? I don't want the open hip here. I want the hip squared. So hips are a little tight this morning. So I'm going to have to judge that so I can keep my hips square. Boom. It's also tough for folks who have, rotation issues in the lower spine and the belly. You may know, I got some lower spine issues as far as flexibility goes. You wouldn't know that to see me do a forward fold, but it's true. So anyway, when I'm in forward stance, it doesn't matter what the depth is. It should be about 70% of the weight front, about 30% of the weight in the back. Again, knee over ankle is safest. Knee over the top of the foot is okay. Knee over beyond the toe is bad. When I move, for instance, sitting down into the back leg, I'm not pushing that back knee away or sideways. I'm sitting down into the back leg. When I'm forward, the back heel is down. Again, doesn't matter how deep I am, that back heel is down. And there's a 5 count to get from side to side. So I'm going to start up high. I'm not going to do anything with the arms at this point, but eventually they'd be in one of the 5 places. One is the step. And notice I'm facing the direction of my back foot when I reach that heel out to my shoulder width, and then turn. 2 is forward stance. 3, I rock back. 4, I open up the quad like the pages of the book. That keeps that knee, the right knee, pointed the same direction as the right foot, and turns my left toes to the 45. If I don't open the hips like the quad like the pages of the book, I'm going to pull that back knee with me. That back knee won't like it. I'm not going to do it because, like I said, the hips are a little bit tighter, the knee's a little bit tighter this morning. I could injure myself just showing you what not to do. So this is 4. 5 is coming up. 1 is the step. 2, moving into the stance. The other thing with this front foot, toes of the front foot forward or in. When I'm in this forward stance position, forward moving stance position, toes forward or in, not out. It's okay in the transition, because in the transition with the quad opening like the pages of the book, knee and toes have the same orientation. The toes are out when I'm weighted in that foot. The knee's going to want to go forward as the toes are going out. That's not good. All right, so this is 2. 3, rock back. Ball of the foot releases. 4, pivoting, opening up like the pages of the book. 5. So that's the 5 count. So again, a little bit lower. Carefully. Breathing, relaxing, releasing. Again, 1 of 5 places. Belly, back, read a hook, set the other one in it. Palms down, a little activation to the wrists, not too much. Don't tweak your wrists thinking that they have to be parallel. Just want that little activation. Lightly closed fists, wrists forward. So, boom. Yeah, okay. I love technical issues. And last, hands on the hips. So, again, choose your poison. Be careful as you set down. You're not doing this, so you're finding that height. 1 is the step. 2 is the stance. 3 is the rock back and release. 4 is the pivot to the new direction. And 5 is the next ready position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shoulders, torso, hips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The thing about lower stances, 1, 2, last one, a little casual close. Playing that through the whole body so nothing separates. One of the things, whenever you crack the knee and open up and set down deeper into a stance, those are big muscle groups down there. Heart, lungs, and of course legs all get worked. You're going to find yourself with your heart beating a little bit harder, breath a little bit more dynamic. So be prepared. So basic Tai Chi walk, you can put any posture with that you have, or any of the walking postures, exercises that aren't walking exercises that we do that aren't postures. In one of the series, we did Tai Chi flying. It was 2. 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, etc. Rotating the ball, you can do that as a Tai Chi walk. Remember that one. Starting holding the ball, moving forward 2, hands are like this. 3, they start to go back to where they started. 4, they begin pivoting to the other side. And 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you open your form and play through the form, whatever that form is, however many postures it is, in a little bit deeper stance. No holds here. Although this lowness sort of came out of the origin of Water Tiger School's stop and start. This is not a stop and start exercise. You're more than welcome to do that. It's just not something that we normally do. So, you know, say it's the 24. Again, this is the 24 from Water Tiger School's perspective. I had some correspondence with somebody last week, a little inquiry. I'm going to get another drink of tea. Little inquiry, phone conversation. And the gentleman had been studying with somebody else who I know, who's been a part of Water Tiger School's World Tai Chi Day in the past. And I've sent people his direction over the years. He's sent a few my direction. But anyway, I pointed out, it's like, yeah, we're both young stylists, but there are differences. Everybody does this stuff differently. That's why I no longer call this the standardized 24 posture form. Some people still use that name, but we still all do it differently. So I don't think it can be standardized anymore. And if you do the original, then sure. There's been no changes from what it was when it was first created, nigh on to many moons ago. So I'm going to start my regular height here. I'm not going to set my lower height until I step out. Up. And when I go down, this is going to be my height. So every posture, unless otherwise designated to go lower, this should be my height from beginning to end of the form. Not going to go very far. It's probably through White Crane. That would have been really, really hard for me to maintain throughout the form. So, Tai Chi lottery. Variety is the spice of Tai Chi, and the spice of life. Short. You can also call this low. I chose short, and yes, that means there is a tall. I'm not sure when we'll get to that. We have a lot of stuff in queue. So I might switch up gears next week and return to the animal frolics. We haven't decided yet. But just a lower stance, maintaining the principles, working a little bit harder, challenging ourselves, not saying I can't without adding the yet. You know, you don't have to go from, you know, my normal height to where I was playing today. That's a dramatic difference, right? Say you're normally at this height in your four stance, just a half an inch. It might have been 3/4, right? I was covering several inches lower than my normal height, which, as I said, I probably wouldn't have been able to finish the 24 at that particular height. But it looked kind of cool, didn't it? So, you know, even just half an inch. Well, I think that was half an inch when I said half or 3/4, maybe a 1/4 inch, just a little bit which you notice I am governing by the length of my step. So just a little bit, just little increments. We did a post, another share from Mr. Horton about, turning up the volume on things and how, all you have to do is just, a little bit. He was talking in terms of like physical exercise reps and how a lot of people say, if you're doing push-ups, you have to add 5. If you're finding the number that you're at isn't quite doing it for you, then you have to add 5. And he's like, no, you don't. Add 1. Start with 1. And if 1 works, then maybe 2. And if 2 doesn't do it, maybe 5 was the number, but doubtful. Just 1 rep at a time. That's, as I'm doing physical training that I do, that's kind of what I've always done. Is just, a couple reps at a time. And that's how I get my numbers up. So it's the same with depth of stance training. Be very, very, very careful of your knees. Really listen to your knees and your hips and come up out of it if anything starts to tweak. And you probably shouldn't do lower stances if you already have knee issues. Just don't wait for the pain to come. If you have knee issues, I'd skip this particular choice in variety, just to be sure. So there's this week. Tai Chi lottery. Short. Oh, it's not on top anymore. Be very, very careful, Will Robinson, because there's danger involved. But it does work you. You probably heard. I was breathing pretty heavy. But it's good for you. So thanks if, you were able to see all that again. Nobody's told me that they can't see me, so I'm hoping they can see me. And we'll be back, next Monday with something else. And here for the time being, anyway, on Monday mornings for Sachem, our friends from Sachem Public Library, and for the greater community and this new abnormal in which we find ourselves. But again, like I said, here's the soapbox moment. Mask up, please, please, please. Put on your mask, and I don't mean your Halloween mask. We got to get ourselves to the other side of this. Thanks for tuning in, and be safe, and we'll catch you next time.